Catch 'em all.
Hi guys, this is Yasser from I-SQL and welcome to this tutorial. If this is your first time landing here, please make sure to subscribe to this channel and click on the notification button so you will be the first one to know whenever I post a new tutorial. And if you like the content of this video, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with your friends. Also, if you have any questions or requests, please make sure to leave them in the comment section below, and I'll be more than happy to answer all of them. So let's go over the table of content of today's tutorial, then we'll start right after that. Please stay tuned. In this tutorial, we will go over all type of joins in SQL. But before we do that, let's go over and explain what a join is. So, a SQL join is a structured instruction that allows combining or merging data from two tables or more. Like they can be 3, they can be 4, and return the query output or result within the result set or into a table. So let's say we have two tables in this case within our relational database. Table A and table B with some kind of relation defined by the primary key and the foreign key. So in this case here we have table A as the customers table. So let's call it A. And table B is going to be the order or orders table. As you can see, the customers table has several columns here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And these are actually columns related to the customers and will define the customers that we will be talking about within each row or scenario or query. And the same thing for the orders table. We have several columns. We have the order ID, the order date, the amount of that order, and the customer ID. So in order for us to know for each customer how many orders they sold while we are searching or querying across two different tables, this table here and this table here, we will need to join these two tables somehow. Because if I just use this table, the customers, there is no way I'll be able to tell how many orders they sold because all the order data is actually in here in the ordered table. And this table has just the customers data. Now, if I use the table B by itself, I will have no way how to tell which customer from which city, from which state sold what. Because again, in the table B, all I have is just the order data. The only thing I have is a customer ID, but that customer ID can be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if I read that number, there is no way I can tell who that person is, where that person lives, if they have a valid email or no, what state they live in, which zip code they live in, what's their first name and last name. I will have no way how to tell because again, in this table orders, I don't have customers' informations. So in order for me to bring data for each customer and what order they sold, I need to combine both of this data from both of these tables. And in order to do that, I need to find the common column between the two tables. And in this case, we have the customer ID. Right here. So pretty much the customer ID column is the one that will allow us to complete our join. Now let's go over the type of joins or the major or basic SQL join types that are out there. The first one that there are actually four of them, four types of SQL joins, or the major SQL joins that are used out there. And the first one, it's called inner join, or just the word join for short. But most people, they call it inner join. The next one, it's called a left join. And the third one, it's called a right join. Then the last major join type, it's called a full join. Let's go over each of these join types and see some data examples. So those joins will make more sense to you guys. Inner join. Let's go over what the inner join is. So pretty much the inner join clause is in SQL. Server creates a new table, not physical, but temporarily, by combining rows that have matching values in two or more tables. So let's use this picture here below. And let's say we have two tables, table A and table B. But let me show you that in SQL Server, so it will make better sense for you guys. Okay, let's say I have this orders table. It's not in human resources, it should be in training database. As you can see, I have about 7 orders. Order number 10, order number 12, number 13, 14, 16, 15, 16, 17. And these orders are placed on these days. This is the total amount collected for each order. And this is the customer ID that bought these actually orders. So this is our orders table. Now, let's open or create another query to see what kind of data we have in our customers table. Customers. Okay. So the customers table has all the customers that bought something from our order table, and each customer has a customer ID from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and customer ID number 1 is actually Jeff Smith. His email is jeffsmith@gmail.com. He lives in 123 First Street, Belleville, New Jersey 70116 as a zip code. Second customer, we have John Madison. Third one is James Moore, Jason Monroe, Jessica Johnson, and Stephanie Groove. Now, let's pull data from both tables actually. Give me 1 second here. I need to create something that will actually tell you which table is which. So the first one will be the orders table. And the second one will be the customers table. So I'm going to run both queries at the same time so I can show you results from each table within the result set area in this area over here. Okay, so this top table here represents the orders table. The bottom table here represents the customers table. And as you can see, we have these orders that were purchased by these customers. Now, in order for us to tell who these customers are, we need to open the customers table. So for customer ID 5, it will be Jessica Johnson. Customer ID number 1, it will be Jeff Smith. Customer ID 4 will be Jason Monroe. Number 5 again, Jessica Johnson. Then we have an order placed by customer number 9 and customer number 7. However, we don't have those actually customer IDs in our customer table. Therefore, we don't know who these customers are. Now, going back to our join, and as you can see, we have two tables. Order table, which is table A, and customers table as table B. Now, when I do this join, which is the inner join, the only data that I will get back is any data where a match is met between table A and table B, meaning only customers that purchase an order that do exist in the customers table will actually have data returned, which is this relationship here. Meaning, this is the common area that shows a common data across the two tables, A and B. Let's see that in SQL Server again. Okay, let's create another column. Another window. And let's build our first type of join, which is the inner join. So the first table that we will be using will be the orders table. And let's call it OR, or alias it as ORD as orders. And from the order table, we need to return ORD order ID, ORD order date, ORD the amount paid on that order, and ORD the customer ID. Okay, so now I need to know who these customers are. And I'm willing to use at this time an inner join, meaning I have to join a second table, which is customers table, to the orders table in order to tell who these customers are. Let's do that. The way we do it will be adding an inner join training that DVO that customers, and let's call this cust. And now we need to join these two tables on a common column. So who knows what the common column between those two tables is? If you know it, leave a comment on the bottom section of this video, and I will reply to you and tell you if you were right or no. Although you're gonna see it on the video, but I just need to know who was following. Okay, now we need to join on the common column between the two tables, which will be the customer ID. So I will say, and order customer ID equal customer that customer ID. Now I will be able to tell who these customers are because I will actually start bringing data from the second table, which is the customers table. Now I will say cast that first name, cast that last name, cast that email address. So let's just say I just need to return these 3 columns from the customer table. Now remember, the order table has 7 columns or rows in it. Now, because I'm trying to join it with an inner join to the customer table, and remember the inner join will only return data that exists in table A, which is the orders table, and table B, which is the customers table. Let's run it. And from 7 rows, let's see how many we will get back. Only 5 rows. Why? Because we had a customer ID number as 7 and customer ID number as 9. And those, they don't exist actually in this table. And the inner join will only return data that exists in table A and table B. Only when the data actually in common or the match, whenever the match happened, that's the only result that you will get back. Let me go back to the previous query, and as you can see, we have customer ID in the orders 9 and 7. However, those 9 and 7 don't exist in the customer table. That's why they were eliminated in our query here, and we only received data that exists in both sides, on the how you call it, the order table, and data that exists also in the customer table. So this is how you do an inner join, and this is the type of results that you will get back. You will only get back what exists in both tables. Left join. What is a left join? The left join close or closed is in SQL Server, returns all the rows of the table on the left side of the join and any matching rows for the table on the right side of the join. So let's say we have again 2 tables, A and table B. Now we are using table A as the table that's going to drive the whole query. Pretty much, if there is data in table A and that same data exists in table B, we will get the results from all the results from table A, and any matching rows in table B will be returned as well. Anything that does not match between the 2 tables will be left off, or it will be left blank without any values in it. Let's go over some examples of the left join, so this will make more sense to you guys. All right, so let's start building our query again. We will use our orders and customers table. So let's call the orders table this time, or let's keep it the same name so I don't get you guys confused. ORD. Now from the orders table, let's bring in the order ID, and let's bring in the order date, and the amount sold and let's bring in the customer ID. Okay, now let's actually see how we will write our left join. So you just write right after the from, that will have the source table, which this one actually will be table A in our example here. And we will left join it to table B, which in our case will be the customers table. And the common column is still the customer's ID. We will say on order or orders that customer ID equal customer or customers that customer ID. And when I say customers, I'm referring to the table. I'm just aliasing it as cust for short. Now, since this table will be driving the whole query, we will have data returned from table A. Everything in table A will be returned. And only the matching data from table B will be returned. Anything that's not matching, remember what I said earlier, it's going to be null because there is nothing that exists for those customers in the customer table. Now, let's add data from the customers table. Let's add our first name and our last name. And let's add our email. Let me run now the query. And remember, we had 7 rows. We will still have 7 rows in return. However, only data that where the match exists between table B and A will be returned. Anything where there is no match, it will stay blank or null from table B, which in this case, it will be the customers table. Let's run it so you can see it. As you can see, all this data is coming from our order table, which is A. And because it's a left join, table A, or the orders table, is the one that's driving this whole query. Meaning, all the results will be returned from the main table in the where clause, or in the from, actually, will be returned. And anything that match from table B or the customers table will be returned. Remember, we don't have customer ID 9 and 7 in the customers table. That's why the query could not find any info and it did not return anything. Let's go back again to the other query. And as you can see, we have some orders where a customer ID is 9 and 7. Because these 9 and 7 do not exist in the customer table, nothing was returned from this table for these two guys. And that's what happened actually in the results here. So this is how you use the left join. Right join. What is a right join? Right join clause in SQL Server returns all the rows on the table on the right side of the join and any matching rows for the table on the left side of the join. So, for example, we have table A and table B, where table B is the one on the right side of the join, meaning our results will include anything that exists in table B, in addition to any data where a match is met between table B and table A, which is this section here. So we will get the result from both of these sections. Anything where that exists in A and does not exist in B will not be returned or will show as a null value. So let's see that in SQL, so it will make more sense to you guys. Let's start building our query as usual. So select from training DBU orders. We will call the orders table as A this time. And we need to return from table A the order ID, the order date, the amount that was paid on those orders, as you can see here in the result set section. Now I will need to add an additional table so I can bring in the customer's data. So in this case, we are using right join. We will call the customers table as B. And remember that table B in the right join is the one that's going to drive the whole query. Anything that match or that's actually in B will be returned, in addition to any matching values in A will be also returned. Anything where there is no match in A will be blank. Okay, so we are going to join always on the customer's ID. From table A equal the customer's ID in table B. Now we need to add columns from our table B. We'll add the first name, the last name, and maybe the email. All right, so now let's run our query so I can show you what the right join will do here. As you can see, from this section here to this section is table B. And because table B is in the right side of the join, it's going to drive the whole query, meaning it will bring us all the rows that exist in table B, which is the customers table, and any matching values from table A. In this case is the orders. So we have, let me go back to this actually screen. And as you can see, we have customers from 1 through 6 in the customers table that it's driving on that right join. Now, we will have all this data returned, and anything that match from this data will be also returned. So for example, we have 1, customer ID 1, it's right here. And also here. So this data will be returned from both tables. We also have number 4. So data for number 4 will also be returned. We also have number 5. Data for number 5 will be returned over here too. and we don't have anything for 6. But 6 will still be returned in the customer from the customer table. However, we just will not get any data for it from the table A, which is the orders in this event. And let's go back to our other screen and you will see that. So because number 1 exists in both tables, so we receive data for customer number 1. Because customer ID number 2 and 3 only exist in table B, and table B is the one that's driving. So we have data returned back from table B for those 2 customers, but we don't have anything matching for these 2 customers in table A. So that's why nothing was returned from table A. Now, for customer ID number 4, it exists in both tables, B and A. That's why we have data that was returned back. Same thing for customer ID number 5. Because it exists in both table B and table A, and table B is the one that's driving the query since it's on the right join, we received results from both tables because the match happened and existed on the customer ID, which is the common customer column between the 2 tables. Now for customer ID number 6, because it only exists in the customer table, however, it does not exist in the orders table, which is table A, we only receive data back from table B. And nothing was returned from table A. So again, the right join, all the tables that exist on the right join or that are positioned on the right side of the join will actually bring back results from that table and any matching results from the other table on the other side, which is on table A in this example. So this is how we do the right join. Full join. What is a full join? So pretty much the full join is when it's used on 2 tables or more, you will get results from all those tables within your SQL query, regardless if there is a match between the data across the tables or no. If there is a match, you will see data from both sides or all 3 sides of all 3 tables within your join. And if there is no match, you will see data from the side actually that where you have the data, and there will be null values on the side where there is no data at all, or matching data for whichever data that was pulled on the other side of the query. And this is actually the another description for it. The full join clause in SQL Server creates the result set by combining result of both left join and right join. The result set will contain all the rows from both the tables. The rows for which there is no matching, the result set will also contain null values. And in this case here, we have our full join that shows table A on the left side and table B on the right side. And the results that will be actually brought back will be from both tables, regardless if there is a match or no. In this case, let's see it live on SQL Server. So let's start writing our query. We will use our orders and customers as usual here. training that dbu that customers. I will call that table as B, and I will join both tables on the customer ID because that's the comment column between the two tables. Now I need to return from the orders table the order ID, the order date, the amount, and I'm going to return the customer ID from the order table, but I will alias it as under a different name. I will call it orders customer cust ID. So you guys will know that it's coming from the orders table and not from the customers table. And from the table B, I will be bringing also the customer ID, and I will alias it as customers cust ID, so you will know that it's coming from table B. I will bring the first name, last name, and email. This should be sufficient actually for our example. Now let's execute this query, and remember, as we said earlier, on a full join, we will have data from both tables, A and B, regardless if there is a match or no. Here are the results. Okay, so now in these results, this is the data that's coming from table A within our query. And this is the data that's coming from our table B, which is the customers. Now, why do we have null values here on the order side? The reason we have those null values on the order side is because we don't have any order that was sold at all by these customer IDs from the customers table. As you can see, we have 5, and since there was a match, we've got data returned back from both tables. We have customer ID 1. Since there was a match, also we have data brought back from both tables. Same thing here. Same thing here. There is a match between the two tables. And because there was no actually orders under customer ID 2, 3, and 6, all this data from table A was blank. It was not returned. And the same thing here, because we have some orders completed by these actually customer IDs. If these customers IDs exist in the customer table, you will find a match. Same thing here. So there was a match between these two, between these two, between these two, 4 and 4, 5 and 5. Because there was a match, we have data from both sides. Now, because we have some customer IDs as 9 and 7 that do not exist in the customer table, that's why no data was returned for them, because SQL Server just doesn't know who is customer ID 9 and who is customer 7. So that's why the full join actually will bring you data from both sides of the table, regardless if there is a match that exists between the two tables, or if there is no match in the event of these actually customer IDs. This is how you do the full join, and I hope that you enjoyed actually all these joins, and hopefully you can practice more on these joins and type of joins within if you have SQL Server Management Studio installed. If not, make sure to use any online server that's available for training. Just search it in Google or use that W3. Let me show you how it's called. Let me see here. SQL. Okay, so this is the SQL tutorial within w3schools.com, where you can practice some queries here that you can run on an online server. Let me see. Yeah, so if you scroll down, for example, for the order by, if you keep scrolling down until you find the try it yourself, click on try it yourself. And over here you have your query. Just run your SQL statement and it will return the data for you so you can see it. And these results here are not the same exact result, but are similar to what I was showing you here. These are my result sets. And by the way, I built my own tables just for the sake of those tutorials, so I can show you guys how to use those tables. And plus, I did not want to use other people's tables. So yeah, this is the website, w3schools.com. You can use some practice in there for free. And this is a great actually website. I like it because it covers pretty much all the syntaxes and all the functions, all the operators. The major of them, actually, the major ones are already covered within this website. Thank you. And if you guys like this tutorial, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and also can give it a like. If you don't like it, hit a dislike, and leave a comment for me if you need me to cover anything else within this tutorial. And thank you for watching.